Info will be on the. Now we are live, no?
Okay. Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you that have joined us today. My name is Ayman Syed. YouTube पर live है IT.
Yes, sir. Yes, we are.
Yes. Okay. Good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you that have joined us today. My name is Ayman Syed. I am a second-year student at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, and I will be your Master of Ceremonies for the second annual International Conference on the Built Environment 2023, organized with the Jindal School of Art and Architecture at OP Jindal Global University. Firstly, we would like to extend a cordial welcome to all the participants of the conference and a welcome to the esteemed guests that have graced us with their presence today at the inaugural ceremony of the ICBE 2023. The members of the advisory board of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, as well as all our partner universities and institutions of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture and OP Jindal Global University. Thank you all for blessing us with your presence at the inaugural ceremony of ICBE 2023. We are extremely delighted to have presenters as well as viewers joining in from all over the world. Hosting this conference virtually has provided an opportunity for all of us in different time zones across the world to come together for a couple of days of insightful conversation and engaging dialogue. As we commence with the inaugural session for the day, I would like to begin with a few questions that we have been engaging with here at JSAA. Does our built environment tell stories of the past, or does it point to ever-changing futures? Can various everyday practices be markers of identity for communities and places? And are these questions important for developing our knowledge of materials and forms? How does local governance influence the quality of services, amenities, and the functioning of neighborhoods? Is architectural representation limited to technical drawings? And how does gender influence architectural thought and building practices? As we begin to engage with these questions, we start to understand the complex mix of agents and structures that together shape the logic of our contemporary built environment. Engaging within this means bringing together disciplines, narratives, and themes for a critical investigation of theory and practice. While broader theoretical frames may remain the same or similar, places with their socio-cultural and economic imperatives produce opportunities for an in-depth understanding of existing and emerging concerns about the built. The physical form in its built and use state and the processes that influence it thus become interlinked units. It enables us in developing a critical language of research and raises the need to involve approaches and methods from various disciplines. Cross-disciplinary dialogues are important for unpacking practices related to themes such as representation, urban services, building practices, accounts of habitation, and adaptive comfort, among many more. And while there are plenty of research conferences related to the build that are engaging with these questions, there are a few which take these discussions to the level of students and early graduates. The International Conference on the Built Environment, ICBE 2023, aims to provide that platform to students for them to engage with research early in their careers. The Jindal School of Art and Architecture at OP Jindal Global University announced the first ever International Conference on the Built Environment in March 2021. Imagined as an annual event, the ICBE 2023 aims to foster and nurture a research-oriented ecology of critical thinking and the creation of a peer interaction network among undergraduate, postgraduate, and recently graduated students of the built environment across various disciplines. We are proud to announce that we have received around 50 research papers and poster submissions from across the world, and from students across various disciplines, ranging from architecture, engineering, economics, sociology, law, and so on. Within the various sessions of this conference, students will articulate and represent research ideas through an academic paper. Also, we will be releasing soon the ICBE 2023 Book of Abstracts as a part of the ICBE JSA website. Along with this, the conference recordings will also be made available on our JSA YouTube channel. For all future updates on this, we request all of you to follow us on our social media platforms, the links for which have been sent in the chat box. All right, we hope that all of you are excited for the upcoming sessions of the conferences as well as the keynote lectures. As we begin, I now request Professor Alokparna Sengupta, Associate Professor and Assistant Dean of Research at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, to commence the inaugural ceremony for the ICBE 2023 with a welcome address. Over to you, Professor Sengupta.
Hello, I'm audible? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Ayman. On behalf of the Dean of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, Professor Dr. Joydeep Chatterjee, I welcome all the eager and enthusiastic participants in this student research conference. All of you and all of us at Jindal School of Art and Architecture and OP Jindal Global University will benefit from this unique experience of sharing your research insights during this online conference. I also welcome all the attendees who are seeing this conference, probably from all around the world. We are pleased and humble that you could join us and give your valuable time to help participate in the production of knowledge. We hope that all involved will have a meaningful and uplifting experience, and we expect that it will be guided by genuine curiosity, respect, and ethos of sharing. Looking at the wide range of papers that are going to be presented tomorrow, we at JSA celebrate diverse approaches and accommodate differences as part of a dynamic and meaningful culture of learning. The presenters are undergraduate, postgraduate, and recently graduated students, and maybe for them, it is one of their very first time that they are presenting in a research conference. We applaud your efforts at entering into the space of academic knowledge sharing and networking. With this spirit of gratitude and humility, let us now begin this conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Sengupta, for the welcome address. I now invite Professor W. Sridhar Patnaik, Registrar of OP Jindal Global University, for the opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Ayman and colleagues from the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, and students and presenters from within the university and even from outside the university, within India and outside India. It's indeed my delight and pleasure to be sharing the forum with all of you and addressing all of you on this particular occasion. This is the second international conference on built environment, and my heartiest congratulations to the school and in particular the students and the members of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture Student Council, ably led by Ayman Syed and other colleagues, for having curated this important conference. Therefore, before we begin with, I just wanted to say that while we appreciate the efforts of the leadership of the school and also the student council and students for this particular conference, this is indeed also a timely experience, I must say, for one precise reason. These days, there's a lot of discussion in and around matters pertaining to the Sustainable Development Goals and the commitments that countries or states have towards fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. Therefore, there is a responsibility that each one of us personally, socially, and professionally execute, and it's towards the society and the larger society for a common good. But nonetheless, this would not be possible with just the responsibility alone. We need some nuanced and technical conversations in and around matters affecting art, architecture, environment, and sustainability. Therefore, in that given context, this conference assumes importance, and rightfully so. we at the OP Jindal Global University, when we have interdisciplinarity as one of our ethos and founding pillars to offer education, this is one such area that brings in multiple areas and multiple disciplines and multiple perspectives to address issues in and around architectural design, conservation of natural resources, and so on and so forth. So this just cannot be limited to one particular school or one particular program or discipline. We require conversations from diverse disciplines. So that's where my second point, that this conference becomes so very important. And the learning that it offers is also very significant, because many a times at the OP Jindal Global University, we tell our students that the learning that happens is not just within the precincts of a classroom, but even outside the classroom. And that's one of the reasons why we have numerous guest lectures, seminars, or talks delivered by experts from within the university and from outside the university. And this cannot be limited to the programs being organized by faculty members alone, but students also do have a responsibility, because they have a responsibility towards learning, and they also have a responsibility towards the society at large. And therefore, a lot of learning happens outside the classrooms, and these are one such venues where not only one can develop their further understanding of the subject, but more often it is to see how others are thinking about these areas and what kind of perspectives they are bringing to the table. And that can only lead to a nuanced understanding. And this also beautifully fits into the philosophy of the university, which, as I just mentioned, has a particular focus on interdisciplinarity. So I, for one, would assume and would like to see that while there are students from diverse disciplines from in and around institutions from India and around the world, but I'm sure that these discussions can have ramifications and implications for those students and faculty members pursuing programs of study and research across all other 11 schools of the university. And for those of you who may not be aware, particularly friends joining us from outside the JGU and outside the country, the OP Jindal Global University is primarily focused on offering social sciences, humanities, and liberal arts education. And in addition to art and architecture, we do have schools offering education broadly on areas of law, public policy, international affairs, business, languages and literature, environment and sustainability, and public health and human development. And even one of our strong pillars or foundational values happens to be student-centric research. So that's where, again, this particular conference is beautifully timed and gives an opportunity to one and all to learn more and to learn better. And what's more, the third most important point that I would like to mention is that we at the university, we want our students to develop certain attributes, and those attributes could be, being more responsible towards their society at large, having a civic sense of responsibility, and developing values and virtues of empathy and respecting diversity and heterogeneity. So these are the conferences or activities that would really enable each one of us present here, whether students in particular or even faculty members and other staff members to hone our skills. So I'm particularly glad that you have given yourself or gifted yourself the space and responsibility to develop these attributes. But I, for one, would appeal to all the students, both from the School of Art and Architecture and even other institutions being represented here, to develop these attributes and to keep the momentum going on, because right now the world at large is undergoing a great transition, and we need good thought leaders and practitioners in order to propagate the virtues of a safe and secure and sustainable environment. So thank you all so much for inviting me here. I once again congratulate the students and leadership of the school for having curated this conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. We very much agree with your insights. Now, moving on, I now invite Professor Dr. Girish Agarwal, Vice Dean of Research at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, to address us and tell us about the importance of research here at JSA. Over to you, Professor Agarwal.
Thank you, Ayman. Good evening, everyone. It's such a delight to see a sizable turnout on a Saturday evening, especially on a holiday. Right? So happy Eid, everyone. Welcome. So I've been asked to talk a bit about research at JSA. It's a somewhat open-ended brief, but let me try. So here at the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, we made a decision even before the school formally opened its doors to students 5 years ago that we'll integrate research and teaching at the undergraduate level. And the result is that almost all of our studio courses, a substantial number of our seminar courses, all have a strong research component. Student engagement in research outside the classroom is encouraged and facilitated from the day that they enter our portals. Over the years, many of the faculty-led research projects have had and continue to have JSA students as part of the research team. Faculty members are encouraged and I should say really say required to be active in research in their specialty areas as well as in research crossing disciplinary boundaries. JSA faculty members are also encouraged to bring their research into the classroom as part of the courses they teach. As part of that effort, we are also developing elective courses centered around faculty research interests. The idea here is, I'm sure as our students are aware, right? Most people not connected with JSA may not be aware that we do not really use textbooks in any of our classes, right? I can see I'm smiling. And the idea there is that textbooks, even the most current textbooks, by the time they're published and get into use, are 5 to 10 years out of date. Right? And the built environment, more so than any other field, is something where new ideas crop up at a very fast rate. Right? Things change. So by the time the gap between a student entering JSA and leaving JSA, right? The industry, the research environment, the thinking changes. And we want our students to keep up with that. So that's primarily the reason that we want to be active in research and we want to bring into the classroom what is the latest in the industry that's going on. I'll give you some examples of ongoing research projects at JSA. Right? One of them, which is my pet project, is a multi-city, multi-institution project doing air quality assessment in small towns and cities across India. Then we have a project looking at menstrual health and its relationship with water, sanitation, hygiene infrastructure, particularly in education spaces. We have projects looking at pedestrian and non-motorized traffic safety. Another project which looks at reconstruction of historic events and looking at preservation and understanding of historic structures. We have projects on digital archiving of folk art forms, projects looking at relationships between urban morphology and urban heat island effect. Another project that looks at the development and assessment for revitalization strategies for old historic centers with a focus on countries in the global south. Right? Similarly, another project that looks at the impact of climate change on mental and physical health. Several new projects centered around the use of AI and virtual reality applications for the built environment. In fact, we are starting a whole new program essentially focused on virtual reality for the built environment. Right? We have projects that look at sustainability from a socio-cultural perspective. I can go on and on just listing names of active projects, but I think just the ones I mentioned give you a taste of the depth and breadth of research interests that are housed at JSA. And most of these are projects in which students are regularly engaged. Right? Our faculty publishes regularly in top flight research journals, and they bring that research into the classroom. Right? We organize a series of workshops and seminars and invited lectures, some presented by faculty members, some presented by visiting practitioners and researchers. Our research funding exceeds 3 crore rupees at this point in time. All of this may not seem very much in comparison with older established institutions. We are still young and quite small as architecture and design school goes. But we hope to grow and add to our research capabilities over the next few years. And of course, like I've said a couple times already, in our case, this automatically means that our undergraduate students in all programs that on offer at JSA will also have a rich menu of research choices to choose from. Right? So I cannot close my remarks without pointing out that none of this would happen without our students. Right? If the students are not there, we are not there. So the primary thing that every faculty member who joins are told is that their primary duty is engaging students in as much in research as in teaching. Thank you. Thanks, Simon. Back to you.
Thank you, Professor Agarwal, for your valuable insights on the importance of research at JSA. Now I request Anish Aditya Prasad, President of the JSA Student Council, to welcome all the student presenters. Over to you, Anish.
Thank you, Ayman. Good evening, dear participants, faculty members, fellow students, and esteemed professionals in the field of the built environment. As the president of the Student Council of the Jindal School of Art and Architecture, I am honored to welcome you to the second international conference on the built environment. Through my years at JSA, I have come to understand the built environment as a process rather than a product, a process that is shaped by design, construction, use, and a process that has a profound impact on the people and the environment itself. As students of the built environment, we recognize the importance of understanding it and the role that research plays in exploring and innovating our built world. As designers, our every action is a negotiation between several factors and actors of the built environment. Research is a critical component that aids this negotiation and enables us to make more informed decisions. At JSA, we use research to explore new ideas, to generate new knowledge, and to test and refine our assumptions. In other words, research allows us to question the status quo. And questioning and even understanding the world that we create for is perhaps our foremost responsibility as designers. Through our seminar courses at JSA, we understand that research in the field of the built environment involves a multifaceted approach, drawing on diverse fields such as anthropology, architecture, engineering, environmental science, sociology, and so on. Through our studio courses at JSA, we are taught to respond rather than simply react. To me, research helps us cross that very bridge from having a heuristic approach to design to that which is more conscious. To explain this better, I will give you a brief account of a recent project I did in one of my studio courses. I was tasked with designing a homestay in the village of Agra, Madhya Pradesh, as part of my studio coursework. I realized that to design a space that responds to the needs of the local community and their unique context, I needed to first understand it. To begin with, I started with secondary research, reading up on the history of the village, its culture, and its people. I learned that Agra's total area is about 4,400 hectares with a population of about 4,500 people. But something important and interesting that I noted was that Agra, as we know it today, has a history that is intertwined with the famous Kuno National Park. Agra is actually a resettlement of the various villages that were uprooted for the expansion of the Kuno National Park about 11 years ago. I now had a broad understanding of the community and its context. However, I knew that to design a space that was truly responsive to the community's needs, I needed to conduct some amount of primary research by visiting the village and spending time with its locals. During my visit to Agra, I tried to bring in differential methods of thinking and learning to understand the built environment socially, politically, and so on. This entailed spending time observing and documenting the village communities. I visited various houses in the village to understand how the village's people were structured, along with the different materials that they used conventionally. This soon led me to realize that those material choices were very well representative of the social structure of the village. with some communities giving preference to specific materials while other communities completely disregarding those. I spoke to locals and tried to understand their daily routines, their priorities, and the challenges they faced in their daily lives. Through these interactions, I was able to gain a much deeper understanding of the community's needs and aspirations. This research allowed me to develop a more nuanced understanding of the people my work would impact. It enabled me to develop a much stronger direction for my design, and I was finally able to create something that was not merely aesthetic, but also responsive to the community's needs. By engaging in research, I was able to ensure that my design was not disconnected from the local context, but instead drew inspiration from it. Through my experience of designing a homestay in the village of Agra, I have come to appreciate just how valuable research is in the field of architecture and how it impacts the built environment and vice versa. By conducting research, we can create spaces that are not only aesthetically pleasing, but also functional, responsive, sustainable, and resilient. Research can take many forms, from empirical studies and surveys to ethnographic fieldwork and community engagement. It can involve working with local communities, conducting experiments, or utilizing technology to explore new design possibilities. Here at JSA, research is used to strengthen our practice. At this conference, we have the opportunity to learn from one another, to engage in meaningful discussions, and to share our research ideas. Let us use this conference to participate in research, to challenge assumptions, and to contribute to the ongoing discourses in our field. Once again, welcome to the International Conference on the Built Environment 2023. I wish you all a successful and enlightening conference. Thank you. Back to you, Ayman.
Thank you, Anish, for your words. As a student of JSA, I can definitely agree with the importance of research at our school. As we move ahead with the inaugural ceremony for ICBE 2023, we will be taking a short break and resume at 6 p.m. with the movie screening of The Shepherdess of the Glaciers, a documentary by filmmakers Tanzin Dorjai-Gyan and Christian Mordele. This documentary will also be screened at T2F39 in the JGU Academic Block. See you soon.